Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. In this video we're going to go quite in depth with the install process of how I install the clutch, how I install the engine and gearbox back together, and then we're literally going to be then lifting it into place. There will be some bits missed out, but I'll be as thorough as I possibly can do, considering the time it's going to take. So there'll be as much detail in it as I can possibly put in, but everything's probably going to be relatively short and sweet just to save myself time, because there's going to be a lot of content in this video. Just a little update on myself. I am picking myself back up. I have completely deleted July 2020 out of my life because there's been a lot going on in it, but I'm not going to disclose what's been going on. And August is my new and fresh start, so watch this space is all I say. So basically, anyway, enough of my waffling on. Let's get started, and I'll show you what we've done so far and take you through the process of what we're going to do from this point on. So we'll get started now. So just to kick start this video off, I have lifted the car up and dropped it back down again, so it's sitting on its wheels underneath the car. And there's two reasons why I've done that. One is because it's now lower than what it would be if it was on axle stands, because I don't want it too high to make it too hard to get the engine in place. And the other reason is because sitting it down on its wheels with this very lopsided driveway is much more firmer and much more secure. So whilst I'm dropping the engine in, I know for a fact that the car isn't going to move. So that's the two reasons as to why I've done that. I've also dropped the steering arms on both sides. I've taken out the bottom ball joints on both sides. And the reason is because when I drop the engine and gearbox in, I've done this work, and that means that's all free to move, so the drive shaft can pretty much get put straight in once the engine and gearbox is in situ. So that's the plan for that. So the first thing we're going to do is, here's the engine on a four-wheeled Black & Decker sack barrow with a, mind the cloth, with a blanket just to protect it so it doesn't get scratched by the ratchet buckle, and a ratchet strap going round, and that's fixed to the sack barrow like that. That's how I dragged it round from the back of my house to here. I didn't fancy the idea of dragging an engine through the house, and it would have been more hassle to drag it through the house than it would have been to drag it round anyway. So we've got the Borgenbeck clutch here, 3-piece clutch. That's the release bearing that we'll put to one side for now, because we don't need that until we get the gearbox out here. And then we've got the clutch plate. It is brand new. I've already taken it out of its packaging just so I could check something, and I'll tell you what I needed to check in a little while. And then we've then got the diaphragm plate there, which goes on afterwards. So turning around to the actual flywheel side, we're going to use some brake parts cleaner, because effectively a clutch is just a fancy brake. Give that a good spray. And just wipe off the excess with a cloth. It's never going to be 100% shiny, but once we actually start using the clutch, all this will, like rusty colour stuff, will go nice and shiny in the end when it actually starts to get used. Now, I have got a clutch alignment tool. Am I going to use a clutch alignment tool? No, I'm not. And the reason is because I just cannot get to grips with how fiddly them things are, and I personally find it so much easier to find something that perfectly fits into that hole and also perfectly fits into this hole. This is the gearbox side, so it will actually go on there that way round. And the reason why I do that is because there's various different sleeves and stuff on the clutch alignment tools, and you've got to then put it all together with the diaphragm on the outside and stuff like that. And it does work, but it's just so fiddly and so awkward. So what I've actually, every single engine is different, so you have to find something different for every thingy. So this particular one, I've actually got a glow plug socket. And what that is, this is a 12mm glow plug socket, and that fits nice and snugly into there with no movement. And I've actually, oh ouch, I've actually got to work hard to pull it out. So that's going to sit nice and snug in there. And then when I do pull that out, It'll also sit nice and snugly into there as well, as you can see. So the idea behind it is I'm literally just going to push that into there like so, and that is now perfectly lined up, and it isn't going to move side to side anywhere. That is actually quite solid on there. So I'm happy to use that as my alignment for making sure the clutch plate is in the correct place. This diaphragm plate will self-align when you start doing the screws up. Now basically we're just going to realign that over there like so, and that will be the last one going in by hand now. And what these screws are, they are a T40 Torx, and I've got the short T40 Torx bit on like there basically. That's now on my ratchet, and then literally we'll just tighten it up. There is 6 of these in total. 1, 2 there, 1 and 2 there, making 4, and then 3 and 5 and 6 down the bottom here. You can't see those 2 because they are hidden behind this. This is completely all done up, all nice and tight, and as you can see all the way through we've left this in, so I am happy in the knowledge that this clutch is perfectly aligned. So now I've just got to pull that out. Ouch! Yeah, that was in there. So that is now out as well. Clutch is now perfectly aligned, ready for the gearbox to be attached, and what we're going to do now is I'm going to insert the clip. We're going to go from being here to in my back garden with a very dirty and oily gearbox. So guys, here's the gearbox. It's really rather filthy, and I want to make it look a little bit cleaner than what it does. It's basically got no problems with that. It needs the new clutch bearing putting in there, which we'll do as well. But like I said, I'm going to give this a little bit of a clean up and a paint. We also have some new drive shaft seals to go in there as well. So these are the new drive shaft seals, one for one side, one for the other side. Let's get cracking on getting that refurbished, and then we can get it out the front and put onto the engine. And just like that guys, the gearbox is now out the front, because that last clip you saw the gearbox looking very differently. All I've really done is cleaned it a little bit and chucked some paint on it. That's all I've really done. I haven't bothered too much about cleaning inside there because most of that is clutch dust, and within the first 50 miles of driving it'll just be the same as it is now anyway. So it's more a case of making sure the spline's clean. There's a couple of new drive shaft oil seals. There's one at each side, so obviously there's stupid of me not to replace those drive shaft oil seals, considering I've got the gearbox out now. So what I've done off camera is I've got the engine all set up on the hoist. I've put this drive shaft in, which could cause me problems with putting the gearbox on, or it could be absolutely fantastically nice to me. I'm not entirely sure. But we're going to have a go at having all this drive shaft set up when we install the gearbox, purely and simply because I wasn't able to remove the drive shaft from the engine mount. And yes, I know I haven't cleaned up the engine mount really, because I couldn't be bothered, the truth of it, because my plan is, because I couldn't remove the drive shaft from the engine mount, a later plan will be to try and source a brand new engine mount, brand new drive shaft, and replace both parts later in time anyway. So that's why I haven't bothered too much with that. But because I couldn't separate the drive shaft from the engine mount, that is why I've done that, and I'm going to have a go and attempting to put the gearbox on with this installed. As we know already, the clutch is installed, so let's get some grease on this, on the spline, get the release bearing put on, and then we'll get you set up on the tripod to do that, and then we'll start putting it together. And what we have got as well is I've also knocked in the little collars, one into this hole just here and one into this hole just here, just to match up with these holes in here, just to kind of allow it to align a bit better. And obviously we've got to align the splines up with the clutch as well. So guys, I have decided to ignore the fact that I've got this little pouch of clutch spline grease, but this is just such a tiny little packet that I don't think I'm going to be able to do what I want to do, because I want to grease the spline, grease that shaft there for the bearing to move backwards and forwards fine, and the arms of this as well. So I'm going to ignore that, and I'm just going to use some copper grease instead, because then I know I can just get plenty on there, and I know it's going to be well greased up, ready to be okay to be used basically. Make sure there's some on the bottom. So basically by doing that, I'm happy in the knowledge that this is going to slide backwards and forwards nicely on its own grease. It should just click like so. So that will now slide nicely backwards and forwards on its own grease like so. And then the spline has got some grease on it to go in with the clutch plate as well. So I'm happy with that. Now let's see how easy this goes on. And just like that, guys, that is now in. Managed to get it in with the drive shaft on. So just there below the drive shaft is one of the main bolts, which is 16mm bolts that go through into the gearbox. Another one just there, one of the main 4, another one just there, and then the 4th and final one was a 8mm hex bolt. I'm not entirely sure if that's the one it goes into, but I know one of the main 4 was that bolt. But they're all exactly the same length, they're all exactly the same thread, so I'm not too fussed about which order they went in, but I know that was one of the main 4 that went in. So I've got some covers to put on, and I've still got the start motor to put on, but that'll go on when it's actually in the vehicle. Let's get it lifted into there then. So guys, as you'll see, I cut the time-lapse footage a little bit too soon because I thought it was in. And I thought it was in and done, and not realising that actually these points where you lift the engine from allows it to tilt slightly. So the lower engine mount was actually sitting on the subframe, which had got stuck there. But now I had to pull it forward, so what I actually had to do is, once I'd got this side in and done up loosely with the that's an 18mm nut on there. I've got a couple of 13s to go on that side, but I'm not too worried yet because that isn't going to drop anywhere, and I will put them on probably in the next video, but I'm not too sure. They'll be going on soon. There's also a 18mm nut that needs to go on there. Again, I'm not too worried at the moment because it is just not going to go anywhere. It's not like I'm driving it down the road today, so I don't need to worry too much about it just yet. So it's sitting in there nicely. It's free to move, which means the bottom engine bracket needs to be done up, but I think that's me done for today. I hope you've enjoyed that. So guys, I'm going to say thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next video, and thank you to all my lovely subscribers, and anyone who's not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Take care guys. Before I do go though, there'll be another one of my amazing videos just in this top corner, and there'll be my subscribe icon for you to subscribe to me just in this bottom corner. Bye for now guys.